In preparation for the 2026 scenario, where the point will be either a return from the phase of global metastability towards a restabilization thanks to Euro-American reconvergence or a fluctuation of the world system towards a fragmented and unstable configuration, my research group is noting an initial positive trend, given the questions on the matter from Italian economic actors, as well as their propensity to postpone investment decisions due to uncertainty. I find it useful to report it, albeit still without assigning probabilities. A positive point is that the Trump administration appears to be learning how to harmonize the MAGA policy with political realism towards foreign and domestic affairs. In America, there are no signs, apart from some sporadic statements, of abandoning NATO despite the pressure to reduce military spending for this geo-sector in favor of redeployment towards other considered priorities. It seems like a return to the Republican doctrine of national interest, 2000, which was then abandoned by the Bush administration following the Jihadist attack of 2001, engagements only for direct threats and providing an indirect umbrella of strategic superiority to allies, delegating regional security to their responsibility. It resembles the lead-from-behind approach pursued by the Obama administration. The U.S. attempt to annul the conflict with Russia is under evaluation, via a truce in Ukraine and incentives to convince Moscow to detach from Beijing, with the aim of concentrating resources in the Pacific against China. The same reason applies to closing the conflict in the Middle East. On the tariff front, my researchers and I believe, contrary to many analysts, that the recent Trump doctrine of commercial reciprocity is positive. If you, even an allied nation, impose trade barriers on me, I will impose them on you symmetrically. This approach does not seem like generalized tariffism, but the precursor to negotiations because it means that if nations, at least allied ones, remove barriers, America will do the same. Obviously, the transition from asymmetric to symmetric international trade, after decades of the former's prevalence, is a big problem for European social and environmental protectionism. However, it indicates a negotiating path for Euronations more dependent on exports, particularly Germany and Italy and Japan. The point, there are indications that Washington is realizing it does not have sufficient imperial strength alone without alliances, seeing that important allies like the United Kingdom and India are preparing a free trade treaty, that the EU and India itself are pursuing, that the Emirates and Saudi Arabia are economically converging with Italy through massive investment and collaboration agreements for penetration into Africa, etc. The Trump administration fears that allies have greater autonomy than estimated. For this reason, it is recalibrating towards a softer version of MAGA concerning external relations. For internal affairs, there are signs of dissent towards Trump's conduct, making it likely that announced measures will be softened, for example, the brutal dismissal of too much public personnel, and the financial market shows an initial decline in confidence. Pending confirmations, the historical direction appears less discontinuous than it seemed a few weeks ago, favoring financial stability. It is not yet a clear signal to invest, but certainly, the signal itself is enough to study the resumption of investments. Everything is in flux, technically called metastability, but not necessarily collapsing.